Well, I'm really excited that we're here today, and we're going to have a great conversation with Zach Strieflin and Julia Boersma. I'm so glad you're here today. So we're going to be talking about emotional, healthy spirituality, or stop pretending and just actually be your authentic self. And I really believe, and it's proven, I guess, or been the age-old wrestle throughout the years, that getting to know ourselves actually helps us get to know God. And you can't actually sort of cut the two in half, and you can't just go on a journey of knowing yourself without actually discovering some stuff about God, and likewise discovering stuff about Him. You actually get to know yourself.
Definitely.
So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions. We'll have a bit of a discussion and see where it goes. You okay with that?
Fabulous.
All right. But we might just kick off with just something funny. What's one of your favourite things to do, Zach?
Well, my favourite thing to do, especially at the moment, I love going fishing. I'm not successful at all, or very rarely. Well, actually, I haven't been, so we'll go with at all. But I do enjoy fishing. I like getting out in nature and seeing the nice spots that Tassie has to offer.
Awesome. And what do you enjoy doing, Julia?
I think going for outings is one of my. I love going for a drive and seeing countryside and going on a different road. So yeah,
it's good for the soul, isn't it?
It is really good for the soul.
So that's cool. So we've been looking at the story of Jesus and what he walked on this earth, and he said some really interesting stuff when he walked here, and he talked about the kingdom of heaven, and that just sounds a bit elusive to me. But really, he was talking about there's another way to live which doesn't look like on this earth. And I don't know about you, but sometimes on this earth it gets hard work, and there's a lot of pain. And I don't always know how to cope with stuff that's going on. And he invites us to have this different experience, really a heavenly experience that's out of this world. And he says this really strange, but I find it really, I don't know, it sort of gets me hooked and sort of sucks me in. He said that people who are after this kingdom of heaven would actually be like a merchant or this jeweler who finds this amazing pearl in a field and goes back, sells everything they have to go and buy the piece of land so that they can have this pearl of great price. And so, literally give up everything in exchange for that.
Yeah.
And so I'm intrigued, really, how we have to give up some stuff in our life if we want to have that heavenly perspective and actually discover some stuff about ourselves. But that takes a fair bit of vulnerability and courage. And so I'm just thinking, for yourself, is there some lessons that you've been learning recently about stuff about yourself that you didn't know about, and maybe you're thinking, I'm going to have to give up that because that's not going to match the life that I want? Yeah,
definitely. This EHS course that we've been doing and have done has taught me a lot recently, especially. I struggled very early on, well, not very early on, struggled through that the whole time of the silencing. I hate the idea of sitting in silence, being in silence, doing nothing. That drives me mad. I don't like to just sit there and be doing nothing. Like I feel like it's just a waste of time. So that's been the biggest thing for me to learn, is that it's okay to sit there and do nothing. It's okay to sit in silence, and spending time with God too often can be used as I pictured it as looking at it as a waste of time sort of thing. Like it wasn't productive time for me.
Yeah.
So changing my idea on that it's okay to be silent, it's okay to sit and listen, and that is still good. Like good can come from it, whereas you don't have to be achieving something sort of thing.
Yeah. So do you hear all kinds of stuff bubbling up inside you in the silence?
Yeah, which is why I hate sitting in silence. Some of the things that, that's where some ideas can come to me that can be really good. It can also be quite scary what you hear in the silence. Yeah. So if you avoid it, for me it was always a lot easier to deal with things with it, by technically avoiding them than what it is to sit in
denial.
Works
well for a time.
Yeah, really good at it.
Oh, thanks, Zach. What about you, Julia? In the recent months, have you discovered some stuff about yourself that you didn't know?
have. I haven't done the course yet, so I'm looking forward to doing that. So I'm sure the layers of understanding will come as I do that course. But one of the things that I've discovered is how much I project onto my kids my mode of operating. So I have an expectation that they'll respond like I do to the same stimuli. And so I've had a few aha moments where they've kind of said, actually, you know what, Mum? that's not how I work. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay, we've got to change it up a bit and try and work out how they want to do it and how they want to, that it's not the same as the way that I would do it. So that's been interesting.
So Jesus also talked about how we sort of get sucked into our culture and that we give into performance, like I think it's about what we do or what we have. And I mean, we know the advertising business is always trying to suck us in, buy this, you need to have this, and you don't have to look too far to sometimes be a bit envious. Somebody else has got something more than us, or maybe it's even popularity, what other people think about us. And so in thinking about that, is it, like possessions, popularity or performance, do you find that you get trapped in any one of those, or is there a sort of favourite?
It's funny, the ones that I don't think I am. Like my kids would say I have no shame, so really I don't care too much about what people think about me.
Yeah.
I can count a handful of people who are dearly precious who, if they had something to say, I would listen intently, but the general average punters I don't really worry about too much at all. Possessions, I've lived with plenty and I've lived without much, and it's just not even a thing. I know I could go either way and it would be fine. But the ouchy one is the performance one. And so I think I do find a lot of my identity in task, in how I do things and how well I do things. And it's not even what other people think of what I do, it's what I think I should do and and I guess that's been imprinted from a childhood. The standards that you instill in yourself or you ingrain into your brain about what you should do and how you should do it.
So does that happen in your workplace as well? Because you're a school teacher, or is it just you find that happens at home, or
it's all those places. Like at school, how well the lesson goes, how well I've prepared for it, how well I've delivered it, how well I've assessed. Did I pick up that kid was struggling with it or having a bad day, or sometimes you find out later that something happened in the class and you weren't over it, and all those things are actually crosses against your successfulness at the task that you do. So professionally at home, I drive myself. My kids say, why don't you just sit down and don't do some stuff? But I'm like, come on, we've got to keep a tidy house, we've got to do this, got to do that. I'm just busy all the time trying to live up to some, I don't know, internal standard, because no one else is driving me to it.
Yeah.
They don't want me to do it.
So is this a conscious thing or an unconscious thing?
It's
or becoming more conscious?
It's becoming more conscious, it has driven me unconsciously, but there's some consciousness developing about it. I guess having teenage kids in the house, you kind of have a big mirror up and they are asking, why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Why am I doing it now? Why can't it wait? Why can't you ask us to help you? A lot of things like that. So I'm having a good chance to reflect on it. I don't know that I've got the strategies to sort it out yet, but just becoming aware is a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, awareness is really the first step of making progress, and because if we're not aware of it, we're not going to change it, are we?
No.
So that awareness is a really great first step. What about you, Zach? When you think of those three things, possession, popularity or performance, is there anyone that you're sort of...
Oh, I can definitely relate to all parts of my life struggling with all three things. I think possession I'm not really too bad with, like my car and stuff like that. I don't really care about that. Clothes I'm not that fussed about. I'll rotate through the same three outfits sort of thing. It just doesn't really worry me. Just whatever my lease buys me, I'll wear.
That's good.
Yeah, but car's just a bit of a bunger. I don't really care about that. Probably like... So possession-wise, like my house, for some reason, I feel like that could be something that I could be judged on. So I like to sort of, I'm, always looking for more land or stuff like that. Like I always kind of want more in that area for some reason. Not sure why. But apart from that, I don't really mind too much. I was big on like, I look at people generations older than me, and I find a lot of people in my generation want that sort of stuff now. But I was always taught that you got to work for what you want. So I know that. Some things I'll get there one day, and until then I'm not really that fussed about any of that sort of stuff because I was just taught not to be, so I don't really mind.
Yeah. So do you give in to like the performance, or do you care what people think of you?
It depends who the person is. I don't really mind too much with most things. Work-wise, not too bad. I I always want to do really well and perform well, obviously. But yeah, it comes down to who says what about it.
Yeah.
But I do always personally. I think I personally hold myself to a really high level. And then what other people say, they say. I can tend to mellow on it for a while and get a little bit annoyed. But yeah, I hope I'm not too bad. But yeah, I probably am in certain areas, definitely.
Yeah, I know. I push myself to perform.
Yeah.
Or perform like to be successful and do it right the first time. And
yeah, I love doing it right the first time.
And to be honest, I do. Like if I speak or something, I'm like, how did I go? Did I communicate well? And so I guess that's sort of linked to.
Yeah,
do
definitely.
people like me, like accept me? I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't use the word like, but have people accepted me or rejected me? And so I feel challenged because Jesus says, that we're loved and there's a part of us that is accepted already and doesn't have to have stuff, doesn't have to do something to be liked, and just has inherent value. And when I think of my grandsons, they don't do anything for me except, like poo their pants or whatever, and I've got to clean up, like they make a mess when they come.
Yeah.
But I mean, they give a whole heap of love, but they really are not performing. And so just to think about how God loves us like that,
definitely.
and if I could live like from that place of just knowing my worth and value, and I think if we all could, and we lived in a community, we wouldn't sort of be so touchy and like step on each other's toes so quickly and blow up or do tantrums. Maybe.
Part of getting ready for, I've been thinking a little bit about, I guess I've had a lot of years to live of life, and I was remembering when we first met you when we were doing Southland, and we had a mentor there, and we were meant to each week write a reflective, how's the week gone for you, where are you at and what have you learned? And I used to, for my mentor to look at, so she'd have a stimulus for a conversation with me, and I was so ashamed of who I was and my brokenness inside that I would scribble one line illegibly so she had nothing to go on. And then I would get to mentoring session and I wouldn't even say a thing. But as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking something's really changed because now I really don't care what anyone. I'll tell them. I'll tell them the whole story, and
It's cool.
I'm really happy to tell them. And it's actually something to do with God's work in my life. So that was that. Now I have an identity that's in Him, and I know that I'm accepted by Him, and so I'm free to just be me. There's nothing else I can do.
Yeah. That's really good, Julia. It's good when you can see where you've
contrast,
been and where you've come. So, do you think there's something specific that that you give into other people's expectations, and you get trapped in doing stuff to please other people, or do you feel like you're pretty much your own self? Like for me, I know that I often will say yes to people when I don't necessarily have the capacity, but I don't want to let people down. And I do want to be liked by them. And so I find that I probably say too many yeses. Is there some things that you give into other people's expectations?
Me, I say yes to everything straight away before I think about it. I'm terrible for double booking myself and whatnot. That's why Melissa's been really good because she remembers dates and stuff like that. But I mean, with my trade, a lot of people ask for help because I'm a builder, so that skill can be very helpful to a lot of people. So whenever people ask me before I think about the job or think how long it could take me, I just say yes. So yeah, I don't know why. I think my parents have always taught me to say yes, even with church stuff. And if someone needs a hand putting out chairs, it's always yes straight away. And yeah, I think I've just always learned to just deal with. No matter what I've said yes to, just then getting it done. I can deny myself kind of sounds maybe not the right wording, but
just get on with it.
I don't know if I ever overwork myself because I'm really not that busy as a person. I work my 8.5 hours a day at work and then I just go home. So I do have a lot of spare time. So yeah, I love to say yes, and that's where I get my enjoyment from. I'm built weird that, I don't want to do overtime at work and I don't like doing overtime at work. But if someone wants me to help them out, that's where I get enjoyment from. I get enjoyment from helping people after work and stuff like that. So I love it. It's what nearly refuels me in a way to.
So you don't find that ever that you overextend yourself or that you'll come home grumpy to my lease or something?
I don't think not too bad. Like, if I had to work a 12-hour day at work, I'd come home grumpy. But if I had to work an 8-hour day at work and then serve 4 hours at the church, I'd be happy as Larry.
Okay.
Like it just but even when I'm at home, like my Sabbath for me is like I love to go around my house and brush cut things or light fires or do something around my house.
We have got a whole yard.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if it comes back to the sense of achievement or I don't know where it stems from. It's
so
probably
it
my
might be a
parents,
little
but-
bit of hidden stuff in there about performance. Do you
Yeah,
think?
definitely. Like, but I don't know what it is. Like, I can't work overtime at work. I hate it. I don't want to do it. Doesn't matter what it is. It annoys me. It drives me crazy. I'll get super tired. But if it's starting fresh and I can help people and I can see progress, well, then I get happy and I get refueled in a way.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe there's a little bit of exploring still to go.
Oh,
underneath
there always
it.
is, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
Unfortunately.
All these layers. Yeah. So Julia, what do you? Is there a false layer that you feel like, you know? We talked about the guy going after the pearl, and he had to get rid of everything to trade for the pearl. Do you feel like there's anything in your life that God's saying, this is false, this isn't really who you are, to let go of so that you can discover who you are?
I think one of the things I'm mulling on at the moment is when you've been through a tough time, you can lose your sense of fun or freedom to just enjoy yourself. And so I'm thinking in that space about what it is. You know, I just get caught up in task and I just do my tasks. But if you can easily fill all your days with that, and if you're not inherently enjoying them, you're not living in that space of joy. So I know when you spoke the other week about repentance and that changing process, you know, and about repentance being that moments that you spend at the cross.
Yeah.
Because so many times we've been taught that repentance is, you know, you go to the cross and turn around and go away and do something different. I actually have no capacity to do anything different. And so for me, that peeling of the layer is going to be, I think, just actually sitting at the cross and spending time with Jesus and
that's so cool.
recalibrating
Yeah.
what it is that I'm doing. It might be that nothing actually changes about what I do, but the way I do it,
Yeah.
the joy I have in doing it, you know, that laid down happy service thing will be different. After I know it, I've tasted it before, I need to go back into that space and recultivate that ability to just sit with Jesus and go, okay, today, what is it that you want me to do right now? What is it that you want me to do, instead of the tick list of all the stuff I should do? So, I don't know.
Oh, that's
Is that kind of on topic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But like for me, it's probably a real contrast. I find the falseness that I have to get rid of is sometimes I think I act happy all the time.
Oh.
And sometimes I'm really angry or I'm really ticked. Or
Yeah.
like this morning I talked about, I was irritated. And just to like say, you know, I feel irritated or that'd really hurt me when you did that. But I'll go, no, it's all right. You know, just sort of like smile. I perfected the art of smile. So now watch out if I smile at you. No, not really. But for me, I'm feeling like God's challenging me not to be false about that and actually be brave enough to say, I feel hurt by that. Or I've got a different opinion than that,
Yeah.
something like that. So what about you, Zach? Can you identify any area that there's a false part and you just pretend really for people?
Yeah, I can, definitely. Sometimes I'm too brutally honest with people, unfortunately. Sometimes I do say what I'm thinking. But, yeah, I do pretend as well. Like, I don't know why we do it. Yeah, I definitely do. Specific situations, like, I don't like confrontation. I'm not really a confrontation person. Some people say I am. I don't think I am. I hope I'm. Well, yeah, I don't think I am. Like, I avoid confrontation, so that's where no matter what people say to me or how they treat me, I just assume that they didn't mean it the way they might have said it or whatsoever because I don't want to deal with it sort of thing. So I'm happy to breeze past sort of whatever to avoid it.
Yeah.
So in that way I can kind of pretend. So
Yeah, so you just deny it and move on.
yeah, that's it. It's easier that way for me
Yeah,
again. Like
yeah.
real denying theme is coming up today, isn't it?
Oh
for me?
dear.
So-
Yeah, it's pretty tough, isn't it, when you don't want to deal with those emotions. So just thinking, you know, like the sad, glad, mad, anxious. Would you say any one of those are the particular ones that you hide from them?
I think probably anxious. I don't want to show people my anxious side. Sad as well. Depends who it is. I don't want to let people in on why I'm sad. It's just a real thing for me. I've never really done it, so I'm trying to get better at it, and that's helped with like our core team meetings and stuff like that. Having a set small group for with core team, it's been like 3-4 years now. So same people every month we can catch up. So in that scenario, I can feel like I can share I'm what I'm sad, mad, and glad about, and anxious.
Yeah.
But so that's helped me a lot. Being the same people every month or so, being able to share with them and do real life with them.
So do you feel like that's a place where you don't pretend?
That's the place where I don't pretend. I feel like I struggle, at church and stuff like that. I don't know everyone, so it can be hard. And at youth, there's a lot of people that you might not know. So I think finding that same small group of people that you can meet with on a consistent basis. And I know with my friend Butler that most people would know, we've probably had a relationship for years where we wouldn't talk about what's actually going on. And I've had a few moments in my life this year that have been pretty big and pretty extreme where I've actually talked to him about it, and we've acknowledged our emotions together, which is weird, and it's weird to say now. But I don't know, it's made our relationship a fair bit different because, I feel like, I've always known I could talk to him, but we just always refuse to talk in a way because I don't know if it's just a guy thing. You girls might notice as well, but I hate talking about my emotions and I hate talking to people about them. So having people that you can talk to them about and know, I think once you do it once, you know that, and you see their reaction and you know you're not going to be judged and you know they're there for you and you know that their life isn't perfect as well, that, you feel like you can go back to them sort of thing.
So it's kind of like, I guess, back to that story, if you give up your pride and and the scary bit about it and you actually divulge yourself, it sounds like
totally.
your face lit up, like there was freedom and there was a delight. Or,
the swallowing the pride thing's awesome, an awesome reference. Yeah, something happened in my life earlier in the year and I remember I didn't want to tell people, but I felt like I had to tell people about it. And I think I tried to call Taylor, and then he couldn't answer at the time. He goes, you can call me back in an hour or something. And then I ignored that and called him back in maybe 6 hours because it took so much for me to call him the first time, and then he didn't answer. I was like, okay, I'm off the hook. I don't have to tell him. Maybe that's a sign I don't have to tell him. And then, it was, taking the step to just go out and do it, that was the biggest thing for me. Like it's something I've never really done in my life before. But it made dealing with the said situation so much easier. Yeah,
so it sounds like you got some. Yeah,
you
didn't have to do it alone.
Oh but it was definitely swallowing my pride.
Yeah,
big
that's cool.
thing. Yeah.
What about for you, Julia? When you think of those emotions, sad, glad, mad, anxious, or fearful, is there any one of those that you particularly find you hide from or you don't want to deal with? Or
mad is probably the hardest one. Yeah. But I am getting a little bit better at least personally acknowledging it, whether I'm prepared to tell anyone else where I'm really at with it. But
it's a good place to start.
Is probably a
more
dignified way to say I'm really fuming here. But I don't. Anxious would be the thing that I struggle with the most.
Yeah.
But just in a resident everyday kind of situation.
I mean, being anxious, though, is sort of politically correct. You're allowed to say you're anxious, depressed, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But for us to say we're mad about something, like really angry about something, I find like that's kind of not as acceptable.
It is, definitely.
And when I think back of, you said about the progress you'd made, from your youth, when I was a fiery, angry teen, and I think I've become tame. But I think I lost a bit of the realness in that. So that again, so I'm just like, I'm challenged to actually acknowledge some of those emotions. So
sometimes don't you think as you get older though, your perspective changes as well? What are the big things to fight about?
Yeah.
Sometimes we used to fight about things that weren't important and now we can get a perspective about what is really fight worthy.
Yeah. So in closing today, just to think about one thing with telling people about getting real with themselves and stop pretending, would you have a bit of advice for our audience today? What would you say to them about getting real with yourself?
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, I think it is about just cut the crap in a way. Like, just go out and tell someone. Like, don't worry about it. We've been focused on a lot this term with youth about just going out and just talking to someone. No one's going to judge you for what you have to say. too often people think that we're these Christians that have lived this perfect life and have never struggled with anything. But I know, again, I'll take it back to the core team. Like, once I heard their stories and everything and knew that like we've all struggled with things in our life and we've all had hard, difficult things go on, to know that, oh yeah, well, it's not just me that struggled with that, you know. So we've been trying to focus on that with our youth. So just going out and talking to someone, and then, because dealing with things on your own is hard / impossible. I'm always happy to talk about things once we're done with them. But talking about things while we're in it, I think, is a bigger thing. Just
Really hard, yeah.
getting people to shine their light for you, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's really good. So, to be brave enough in the moment to share
definitely.
it with someone.
In the moment's a huge thing,
Yeah, that's cool. What about you, Julia?
I think I've just had a philosophy that, a bit like you're saying, Streef, that everyone's actually the same. We all have struggles.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all pretty messy, actually, and possibly nothing that I'm going to share is going to rock anyone's boat that badly that they're going to hate me afterwards. And on the flip side now, as I'm getting older, I think maybe it could help.
Yeah.
And so, you know what, I'm really prepared to be really honest and
that's
really
awesome.
authentic, because what if that could be the story that made a difference for someone, that helped them see something different, that gave them courage to be honest in some way. So
Definitely.
I just, whatever it costs, I'll do
Yeah, that's awesome.
without sacrificing my own children's privacy.
To keep it to your own story is really sometimes hard, isn't it? Especially when you're a mum and a leader. So, for me, what I'm hearing today and the lesson for me is really about us daring and having the courage to be honest with ourselves, first of all, to just actually be truthful right here, and then to actually find some people in your life who you can share it with. And so that's a challenge for us in these coming weeks. Will we be honest to ourselves, but will we also be honest to those trusted people in our life and do life with them? And who knows, we may help them along the journey as well. Have a great week.